It's quite broad. Main reason being that a lot of the deep tech mandate is around looking for companies that are looking to commercialize research. And ultimately, that research just spans multiple fields. And so, for example, in this year, and actually in a similar way to Type 1 Energy, we were engaging with a company that's also in the fusion space, and they were commenting on how they're looking to basically pull together different types of innovation across multiple fields, being additive manufacturing, be it quantum algorithms specifically for the design of novel stellarators. And so just this combination of technologies that ultimately should allow faster progress of what's happening in the fusion space. So that's one space, and obviously the counter argument to fusion, which everybody knows, and it's obviously tied to the timeline that it will actually take these incredible innovations to actually come online. Within the recycling space, or from e-waste, or recycling from what's happening within the mining space. What we're seeing there as well is a consolidation of experience from the companies that have raised in the past 4 or 5 years, and how that experience can potentially translate to these novel companies that are also looking to bring online solutions. So one of the companies that we were engaging with recently that was super cool is this company that is looking to extract specific minerals. So basically focused on a multiple step process that does the extraction of certain minerals from waste streams, and then reaggregation, and then reutilization of those extracted minerals for novel applications, and how they basically are looking to focus on in ensuring the quality of those minerals, the qualities of those renovated or recovered materials for applications in batteries, applications within, say, novel products where they can still qualify as virgin materials. And then obviously there's a different question mark there, which is around how operators and players in the mining space, how eager they are to engage with companies at this stage that ultimately do represent a huge level of risk and are not exactly the type of culture that you're used to in those environments.
The science must be there, the technical part must be there. It must be plausible. If it's a very long, scientific long shot, the underlying science must be plausible, and the technology must be something that is feasible in reasonable timelines. But then it really is about, how the founders are thinking about the capitalization requirements, how they're thinking about partnerships. And I've seen probably the single most successful company I've been working with was in a previous fund, was a company that totally pivoted from their initial technology. Like, that technology failed after 2 years. And the founders were okay with it, because it happens all the time, right? It's science. You can eventually you find out that the reduction in CO2 emissions is not what you were expecting. That basically all your spreadsheets were not what turns out to be the real world, and they did it anyway, and they had a massive exit with a totally different technology. So it's a matter of, okay, you start, of course, with a piece of science or a piece of technology that makes sense and it's doable, but then you want to really invest in founders that are thinking the proper way about how to develop that technology, how potentially to pivot when it comes you acquire new data points from the market, right? The market that turns out to be a certain piece of the market turns out to be less open or less proactive in picking this new technology, and then you find out that there is a highway somewhere else where the technology can have a much better market penetration. So that's the way we want to see founders think about it.
It can be hard as a VC to work out where to invest in which startups when it comes to industry, all these hard to abate sectors, because it all is huge amounts of money. They need billions of dollars to build their first of a kind, or there's not profits to be made and the whole thing is going to really struggle without a green premium. So we've been looking and trying to think about where might there be interesting opportunities. This is back to the point we talked about with regards to the European Union having this carbon price. So in Europe, and a lot of policy, in Europe there are some exciting opportunities, we think. I would break that down into areas where policy makes things profitable and where companies, off-takers, really have an urgency to buy green products and are willing to pay a premium or are mandated to. So for us, industrial heat is really interesting space. There are many innovations in it. And when you look at FMCG companies, so basically food and kind of manufactured goods companies like Unilever or Nestle or Kraft, Danone, they have Scope 1, Scope 2 and Scope 3 emissions goals. Scope 1 for them means the direct emissions they are producing when they make their products. They've pretty much eliminated Scope 1 besides heating, because when you are making food, for instance, packaged food, you have to heat the food to cook it. And that would be using natural gas. That's a big emitter. And currently they are scrabbling around to try and find biomass just to replace the natural gas, because biomass is lower emitter. But that's not a sustainable solution. There isn't much biomass out there. It's incredibly expensive. And that's an amazing opportunity. These companies have Scope 1 goals. They have big PR campaigns about going green. They're already paying a premium for the biomass they're using. So why would you not try and pitch to them startup innovation around electrifying heat, for instance, or heat storage, or new ways of making the food that doesn't involve heat? I mean, there's some really interesting technologies out there looking at electrifying industrial processes. And I'd say that's a place that VCs absolutely should be playing. Second thing is recycling in the circular economy. I think to date we've struggled to work out where profits are in the circular economy, reusing materials. But now the UK has put a mandate in that it wants 30% of all plastics made in the UK to be recycled content. Now, we don't have enough recycled plastic in the UK to do that. The UK makers are going to have to import recycled plastic, second-hand plastic, from Asia at great expense just to meet the mandate. So why can't startups collect more waste plastics? Why can't we use robots to sort waste or use AI tools to spot where waste plastic can be found and then gather that? And why can't we actually do more plastic recycling in the UK through pyrolysis technologies and things that there are startups working in? Also a really exciting area. And then finally, unfortunately, we need to suck CO2 from the atmosphere. And we can do that through trees, but the way of doing it in a man-made way is called direct air capture, DAC. There are enough companies out there with pretty strong Scope 3 goals. Scope 3 is where you're trying to account for the emissions of your products downstream or products upstream. Those really you can only eliminate often through direct air capture. And there's a lot of demand for that. And there are so many innovations we need. Today, direct air capture costs about $1,100 a ton of CO2. We need to get it down to like $100 before people start buying it. So there, the innovation is really exciting. And again, that goes back to who are the off-takers who have these scope goals and how can we tackle that?
If it comes to pure decarbonization, right? If our interest is let's decarbonize industrial processes as quickly as possible, because that's the point. Like we don't want to, on a planetary level, we don't want to get to the point where you start triggering cascade effects of the tundra in Russia, defrosting, and that kind of stuff, right? So if we want to optimize for CO2 reduction on the shorter possible time frame, then we need to tap into that immense pool of resources that comes from the industrial world as we're seeing it now. And that is, oil and gas industry, that is energy, that is the chemical space. They have the resources, they have incredible talent, and also when it comes to building big climate tech companies, like the only guys who've done it before, who've done that type of first of a kind, massive factories able to produce tons of ammonia, methane, chemicals, are the people who are now in the old industries. So we have to be opportunistic, and it's ridiculous to think we can decarbonize without tapping into that massive pool of R&D and knowledge and resources.